may his soul rest in perfect peace. Her Ladyship, our distinguished Chief Justice for the Republic of Ghana, Board Chair of Eve International and Vice Chair, and members of the Eve International Foundation. And because it is also the very first time that this has been done, our Senior Counsel, Mrs. Efuagate, First President of the Ghana Bar Association. That is certainly not an easy feat, and we say a huge congratulations to you, Madam. Distinguished friends from the media, ladies and gentlemen, I think I love everything about this theme this morning. It says gender equity, transforming women's leadership for national development and beyond. I think it resonates with each and every one of us who's here. It must be the reason why all of us are here this morning to participate in this all-important ceremony. May I also say a very big thank you to Her Royal Highness, Lady Julia Osentutu, for this great initiative that allows all of us to come here each and every time to speak largely to matters that affect and bother on women generally. This morning, I'm sure it's no different, and certainly my shoes are rather very, very tiny shoes, and so it is a privilege and an honor that I was actually invited to join all of you this morning to share my thoughts on what my sense of women in leadership is, what it looks like, what a future of women in leadership would actually portend for Ghana and the world over, and what women need in every decision-making process. I think that all of us can appreciate that there must be something a company actually has women, because women have a certain intuition, women have a certain sense, women also have enormous integrity. And I think that Ghana certainly has gotten the message, and you can see that there's so many women now across board at all levels of leadership. It is called empowering women as fundamental partners in our journey towards development. So certainly our conversations around gender are probably one of the longest conversations, and it's inspiring to have Madam Sheila Menka-Premo here this morning, because of course, when we were very, very young lawyers at the bar, they and many other distinguished female lawyers, we are at the forefront of all the conversations that we are having today. I believe that we now have an Affirmative Action Act really cements this love for women's empowerment that is set to move for all those years ago. So great day, great opportunity, fantastic way to celebrate the distinguished excellence of women. You know, look across board basically. I mean, imagine that research tells us today that women's participation in leadership is actually just about 30%. And yet this has been shown and proven to be effective and impactful across all levels. In the corporate world, for example, most of these companies are led by women, owned by women, managed by women, and they are all doing extremely well. In that regard, the United Nations Women tells us that if we can have at least 20% of women being financially capable and in leadership positions, we can add $28 billion to global GDP by 2025. So Eve must have a sense of something very, very important that is just about to happen. So look at the current state of affairs here in Ghana, and of course globally, women hold just a mere 26% of parliamentary seats. And in sub-Saharan Africa, the figure stands at 25%, far below the 50% representation that the world expects all of us to at least start and make a step towards. So what is it that we're doing right or wrong? In Ghana, for example, the story is even more dire, because women in parliament are just about 14.5%, and this is across board for both the New Patriotic Party and the National Democratic Congress. And so it tells you that we're both not doing too well either. The next thing is, what is the reason why we are not closing this very significant gap? Is it because we do not have the women willing to take up these positions or opportunities? I'm sure that I'll say the answer is definitely no. The 2021 population census actually posits that there is at least 50.7% of Ghana's population being women. It means that if women decide on Monday morning to change their member of parliament change the sitting president or leader, it is something that women can't do because the 1992 Constitution says all you need is 50 plus 1. So women have a great voice. There's a fantastic reason why we meet here annually, to have conversations that focus on women and of course on women empowerment. We have great feats in great women that all of us can learn from and be sure that we can do better even than what we're doing. So my dear brothers and sisters, what is it we're going to do to try and promote women in leadership positions? I believe that we should lead by example. We should start these conversations that allow for us to bridge the gap between the young ones, the middle level ones, and of course the much more senior ones to all of us. And so when you come to programs such as the Eve International Foundation's annual gatherings, what you see is a whole gamut of women from all spheres of our lives. In the economy, in business, in teaching, in academia, in justice, in judges, in lawyers, name it. It tells you one thing, that Ghana is ready and that the affirmative action bill was actually long overdue. And so let's hope that as the real years go by, it will actually serve the all-important purpose that we anticipate that it will serve. But you see, yesterday I read a very interesting piece, and I love the quote that I took from there. The presumptive leader of America, the Vice President Kamala Harris, said that there are some women who do not aspire to be humble. Maybe it is the cultural sense of humility that probably has continued to hold women back. I gave it a lot of thought, and persons who know me know that I write a lot. And so each time I see these sorts of very little short quotes, I ask myself why. I've thought about it very carefully. And Madam Chief Justice says, hey, is there a reason why humility holds us back? Because quintessentially, women are advised to be humble. Don't hold your chest out. Don't walk too boldly. Don't speak to what you think you know or what you are about. You know, don't dare to be different. If you're above 6 foot, try and hide and hold yourself shorter than all the other people. In fact, don't wear high heels. So there's all sorts of reasons that, you know, come somehow literally militate against a woman who wants to stand there for, be a leader, and make a great impact. I have a very short thing that I live by, that wherever a female finds themselves, and it's instructive that lately we have so many females in SRC, in the NOOBs, in the student contests across the length and breadth of the country. What it means is that females ahead of us have done something truly profound and amazing. And so when you wake up in the morning, know that there are many great examples of female leaders doing amazing things. I believe that sometimes it is also because women will tell you that this is not for you. Focus on the family, but I love one thing about the new crop of women that we have in leadership positions. They have families, they've raised great children, they've managed fantastic businesses, they've led in all that they've always done. Madam Chief Justice here, may I humbly say that when I was a very young lawyer in the Office of Lawyer C, she was then at Fuller & Co., and I've known her all these years. It is really no surprise that she's a female leader working for the accommodation and celebration. It is also beautiful that Ghana is actually not celebrating its first female Chief Justice, but also is there. That must also tell you something. So for those of us who actually believe and study the law, we set the bar very, very high. The question is, what are all the others doing? If we want equity, we want better balance, we want more females at the decision-making table. Indeed, we do know that when women actually decide, all the social things better things. So ask yourself, why don't we have more of them? A friend said to me, it's because they don't want to. There's too many issues here, too many challenges. I would humbly use myself as an example. I have no idea that I want to go into politics, but I think I've taken it in my stride, carefully handled it, and I think it also affords me great opportunities to meet even greater women. That tells me that there is still many rooms women ought to walk in and walk into politics. That is what leadership is all about. Look at our Queen Mothers, for example. I'm happy to see all of you here, and permit me to acknowledge you because I forgot earlier. They do an amazing job at the local level, in our communities. They make decisions. They do things that affect women. They show enormous leadership. And so communities now benefit largely from the contributions of female queen mothers in our society. It wasn't the case before. So I think that leadership is not just for those who serve in very official quarters, in very high rooms, in boardrooms and what have you. Leadership starts from zero. And I met a young lawyer yesterday who wants to actually contest with the Young Professionals Forum of the Ghana Bar Association. And then she said, there's so many guys. Maybe I should just drop out. I said, why would you? Please go for it. And even if you don't make it, know that next time you stand a better opportunity to succeed. So this is what it is that it's all about. I think that women ought to rise up to the plate, rise up to the occasion. Take whatever is offered, wherever you find yourself, make the very best out of it. But you are very lucky to have fantastic platforms, which is what EVE International is doing, where you can come and meet great women that maybe you would otherwise never see or hear. You have the internet, and there's nothing that beats social media. I mean, when we were young lawyers, seriously, to find a case, you would have to find just one software and pay so much for it. Today, there's all sorts of them, so you don't need to go too far. Everything is changing, and the world will never be the same again. So at no time have women. So without further ado, let me thank Eve for inviting me. Let me say that I serve the National Democratic Congress, and we have a female who is an accomplished professor of education. I've seen that many of the other political parties have actually also taken a cue from this. Let's hope that as the future stares us in the face, women will stand up in all kinds of roles to be counted and serve the purpose for which God intended.
Wow. And that's a great role model right there. I think she deserves more than a clap. Wow. Outstanding. Profound. We are really pleased, I must say, by that unique and profound speech you just gave us. For those of us watching us from home or just joining us, Mrs. Joyce Bawa Moktari is a distinguished Ghanaian lawyer, a public servant, and a politician with a notable career in both public administration and legal practice. And she's currently serving as the special aide to former President John Dramani Mahama. And she continues to contribute to the National Democratic Congress, NDC, and are significant, particularly in her pivotal role in the party's strategic planning and communications. Madame Joyce's career began in the legal field, where she established herself as a reputable maritime and transport law lawyer. She earned her Bachelor of Laws degree from the University of Ghana and furthered her studies with a Master of Laws from the International Maritime Organization's International Maritime Law Institute in Malta. Her expertise, as she just displayed right here, led to her appointment as the Deputy Minister for Transport in Ghana, where she was instrumental in shaping policies that enhanced the country's transport infrastructure and regulatory frameworks. Her work in this role earned her an enviable recognition for her contribution to improving public services and good governance. I just found a new role model. Let's give it up for her one more time. Okay, now it's time for us to have our affirmative song. That's the EVE International Foundation anthem. So without much ado, kindly be upstanding so we can take this anthem. It will be displayed on the screen. We can sing along. It's so singable, right? Can we have it displayed on the screen, please? Members, are we ready? You lead us, because you know the song more than we do. Okay. In 3, 2, 1, IT, are we ready? Okay, right now, let's go. Fire. Okay. Fire. On fire. Oh. Na, 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 na. Oh. IT, don't kill our vibe, we beg you. Okay, let's go. Thank you very much. A round of applause to ourselves. Moving on quickly, would like to call upon our third speaker, who is His Excellency Charles Abani. Charles Abani, His Excellency, is a seasoned international development practitioner with over 25 years of experience in the public, private, and non-profit sectors, having worked on senior country and regional leadership roles in Africa, Asia, and in Europe. Specifically, he has worked with Action Aid International, Oxfam GB, Absolute Return for Kids, Palladium, and Chemonics. He is an extensive experience of managing organizations, projects, and driving change, as well as significant international non-profit board. His Excellency Abani has also led the successful implementation of projects for DFID and USAID. Most recently, His Excellency Charles Abani served as an African Director in Chemonics UK division, prior to which he led the USAID flagship civil society project in Nigeria. His Excellency Abani is from the Federal Republic of Nigeria and holds a BA in History from the University of Nigeria and MSc in Political Science from Ahmadu Bello University and an Executive Management Certificate from Oxford University. We are indeed privileged to have you in our midst. Let's give it up for him as he comes on stage to give us our speech. Let's do it better, He deserves it all. His Excellency. There you go.
Thank you so much, and good morning, everybody. I don't know how I'm supposed to follow an excellent and inspiring speech and then a super song. So, but let me try to say a few words which I hope will be helpful. The chair of this occasion and the representative of Her Royal Highness, Lady Julia of State II, the representative of the Minister of Gender, Children and Social Protection, Your Ladyship, the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, the aide to the former President of the Republic, my brother, we are few in the room, from Martin's group, government representatives here, the traditional rulers and the traditional institutions, and this is such a powerful point, and I'd like to make a special recognition of the Queens and Queen Mothers for the role they play. Civil society and private sector actors, especially those who played a really strong role in convening the conversations around the recent passage for over 10 years around the recent passage of the affirmative action bill. Supporters of the program here, and let me also acknowledge my brother and friend, Ambassador Shimon, who also heads the co-foundation called the Millennium Excellence Foundation, representatives of the media, ladies and gentlemen. It's always a challenge to stand in front of powerful women leaders who have achieved so much and who continue to strive in the face of what really is the unimaginable sense of why equality is even a discussion that we should be having at all. why is it even a discussion, has to be the key question. To speak to you and share some thoughts in our collective pursuit for justice, progress, and women taking their rightful place in society. Let me first of all congratulate Eve International for the role that they're playing in this particular area. Ghana has a proud history, strong women leaders, from queen mothers in our traditional governance systems to today, with many women excelling in business, politics, across civil society and the private sector. And dare I say also in the international community, from where I work, a lot of powerful Ghanaian women in that space. So together we stand here, we're very proud of the progress that has been achieved, where women's voices are increasingly heard. And indeed, of course, gender equality is not only a standalone sustainable development goal in its own right, but it is an integrated issue across all of the issues, and particularly around rights. And in this regard, let me also congratulate Ghana after playing a significant role on the Security Council. This year, Ghana started its role on the Human Rights Council, which is one of the places where a number of the rights of women and many other groups need to be really extolled. This long history of women in our culture, and again, let me refer to the Queen Mothers, many of whom we already work with, because of the power and influence we bring, needs to be more amplified and more seen, but also in this society. And please let me, as we dwell on the issues that we need to do, can we pause in the spirit of that song and just have a round of applause that recognizes all the power that is in the We can point to some pieces of legal frameworks that help us: the Domestic Violence Act, the Interstate Succession Law, Labor Act, Education Act and Child Act, and many others. And I do want us to really applaud Ghana on achieving the Affirmative Action Bill. Please let's have a huge round of applause for that. Equality is the goal. Equity is the strategy for achieving this. And I think we already know the power that women play. A UNDP report recently said that actually the businesses that thrived and survived and grew during COVID were women-led businesses. The agricultural foundations of this country would not exist without the role women play in that huge food systems section. And Ghana itself has an ambition to be a wiser nation, according to policy. A wiser nation, by the way, is a wealthier nation, a more inclusive nation, a sustainable nation, a nation that is environmentally sound, and a resilient nation. As I grew up, most of my resilience I learned actually from women, because of their ability to overcome challenges, stay patient, and to drive forward. So Ghana cannot realize its ambition for this wiser nation unless it includes women, who actually make up the majority. 50.7% of Ghana's population, according to the 2021 census, are women. And yet we still find many challenges and obstacles in our way. We talk a lot about gender-based violence and the impact that this has. That 1 in 3 women globally and here in Ghana will experience some form of gender-based violence, and particularly those between the age of 15 and 49. This figure goes up dramatically to 41%. But as if we're counting just physical violence, the former speaker talked about the question of women in politics. And we know that violence is not just physical. It can be psychological and emotional. A woman who is now a CEO, and there are many CEOs, what does she have to face in terms of harassment, and gender stereotypes in her role consistently. All of this is violence. And the mainstreaming of learning and in healthcare. We live in an exponential time where digital technologies, innovation, and now increasingly artificial intelligence are going to drive the future. And if we look at the number of women in that space, abysmally low. The number of women who have access to the internet or able to use that internet, abysmally low in comparison to their male counterparts. So if we really want a country in which we are aspiring to be a wiser nation that is really prosperous, making sure that we level up this space will be extremely important. We talked a bit about economic marginalization, even though in COVID women carried the burden. Even though, even as we speak now, and we have a dry spell in Ghana, women carry the burden. And we've talked a bit about political underrepresentation. 14.5%, 40 MPs currently. The sad news is it's set to drop. In this election, it's set to drop. So I'm not Ghanaian, and I won't vote. But can I ask you, whichever party you sit in, make sure all the women who are running get the lead. All of them. We need to eradicate so many of the barriers that exist, systemic barriers that prevent women from taking their place. And there is a big conversation around some of the deeper reforms that are required at the constitutional level that will really help to level up the space on equality. And I call on Eve and all the organizations involved in this space to really pay attention to that conversation around decentralization and why, while we're even celebrating 14.5% of women in the parliament, actually if you go to local governments, that figure is 3%. 3% at district level are women from the November 2023 election process. So we have a long way to go. But let us do that in the context of acknowledging the progress that has been made. The affirmative action bill stands out. It will mandate, once we now know that it's affirmed and signed off, it will mandate for minimum quotas in decision-making bodies and aims to rectify historical inequalities and promote inclusivity. But there is much work to go from a bill to actually making it happen in real life. And I'm sure that all of you will play a strong role in helping us to get there. The role and importance of women's networks, traditional leaders, and particularly the Queen Mothers as we gather together to work on these, and the likes of Eve, will be extremely important in promoting women's empowerment, in promoting women's inclusion, in enabling the affirmative action bill to actually have the legs it needs on the ground to make this happen. And let me also talk about an area that very often is assumed around women: peace. We think historically about who prevents the peace, who prevents the conflict, and who has to stitch back the peace. Women are at the heart of that process. And we've seen the role that women played in the context of Rwanda post-genocide. And we know the power that women have in this space. And yet in a sub-region filled with conflict, we're yet to elevate women leaders to play the significant role that they have to play. We have an upcoming election, and increasingly it is a testosterone male-filled election in which the rhetoric is just going higher and higher and higher. Let us remember that one of Ghana's crown jewels is that it is a peaceful nation. It is a very peaceful nation. And that peace cannot be taken for granted, nor does it just come. It comes and it's there because of the hard work that a number of people do behind the scenes to make sure that it is peaceful. So let me also doff my hat to the women who play that role, and ask you in these very tense moments to continue to play that role of keeping the peace and bringing the peace and ensuring that Ghana's proud presence as a democratic nation and as a peaceful nation, itself surrounded by turbulence and conflict, continues to shine like a bright light. Please, let's give all the women a round of applause. Coming up to those elections here in Ghana, we have something that we work with the National Peace Council and many stakeholders on, called the I Pledge for Peace campaign. And everywhere I go, that is fair, free, transparent, inclusive of everybody, and to which all Ghanaians rally behind. Because Ghana is more important in the final analysis, and the peace of Ghana towards pushing that. We may be late for 2024, but actually the work that you will all do in the coming years to make sure that this becomes a historic turnover of 2028, and that this notion of 30%, which is even in itself an injustice, is turned to a sea of change, and that Ghana truly takes its place as an equal nation, and a very proud one too. And within that context, let me also congratulate particularly the Minister of Gender, who has worked hard on the Affirmative Action Bill, and point out too that there are intersections of other forms of marginalization where women particularly suffer. One that I will highlight, or two, let me just highlight two. With a young population, Ghana's population is young, Africa's is the youngest on the continent, ensuring that in the spaces as young people start to take their place, that women leaders are taking their place among the young. And also for disability. If you want to talk about disability, disadvantage, first of all, have the disability. And then be a woman who has a disability. And then be a woman who comes from a marginalized part of the country with a disability. And you will then see the nature of this. So really to say, another important piece of legislation that is awaiting signature and that really is important is the bill that is looking at the revised disability bill, which aligns it better with the Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disability. This is a powerful bill for also pushing women's rights. I think in the UN we integrate women in all of our work. We say it is one of the things that is about everything. And so whether we're talking about climate change, we're talking about issues on agriculture, we're talking about issues across the board, we must integrate women. But we also have specific work, UN Women, UNFPA, stand out for the work that they do on protecting the rights and integrating women's rights across the board. So I think this is a great opportunity. Let me end by saying that actually the Summit of the Future, which was just held in September, pointed out the need for a new world order that focuses more on sustainability. And we cannot see a way in which sustainability will happen unless women take their rightful place. As you celebrate today and make the most of today, we say we're with you as men. I think it's important that men are with you as women on this journey, and that we do all look forward to a day when everybody is treated equally. And we thank you for the efforts you're putting in as the foundation to drive this forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, His Excellency Charles Abani, for that profound speech. We are indeed pleased to know that you are putting in a lot of work to ensure that we have a peaceful election, and also that on the Affirmation Active Bill. And also allowing us women, I think on this note, we all can attest to the fact that the men have given up, and they have also allowed us to, get into position, take up roles in society so that we can shine, right? Okay, so let's give it up for him one more time. And it's indeed good to know that there are indeed women that have taken up serious positions in our country, and they're doing amazing. And on this note, I want to use this opportunity to celebrate one woman who is doing amazing in our fraternity, registering commercial foods and drugs. And she is of no other person than Dr. Mimi Dako. Dr. Mimi Dako, one more time, Dr. Mimi Dako. She makes sure that all the foods and drugs are well registered before they are commercialized. So thanks a lot, Dr. Mimi Dako. We're proceeding to have an overview of the EVE's special international mission, where we have an overview of what the EVE International Women is all about. If we can have that projected on the screen. It's going to be a short video. It won't take so much time.
In every corner of the world, to join the EVE family,
to kindle a perpetual fire of unity among women. The spirit behind EVE is a vision of Ghanaian women everywhere. When women come together
and international, with current membership of close to 10,000 women. The name EVE symbolizes the energy and life of a Ghanaian woman, positioning the foundation as a powerhouse and think tank advocating for gender balance, mental health, environmental sustainability, and women's overall well-being. Founded in 2022 as a member-led organization, EVE has become the largest network of women of Ghanaian origin committed to capacity building, advocacy, and fostering the advancement of women on a global scale, serving women both within Ghana and across the diaspora. The EVE International has over the last 2 years focused its work on our 4 pillars. The first EVE pillar of gender parity and inclusion is aimed at bridging the underrepresentation and opportunity gap. EVE works in supporting and building young female leaders through capacity building, mentoring, business coaching, skill training, access to people, resources, and information to enable women attain economic empowerment, leadership tools, and opportunities. Through the More Women Leading Mentoring Program, a robust initiative that pairs experienced professionals and female leaders with young women for a year, EVE is helping to encourage and groom young women leaders, entrepreneurs, and women looking to build their leadership capabilities. In the area of policy advocacy, EVE organizes awareness campaigns, forums, and engages in collaborating with governmental and non-governmental organizations and community leaders to ensure the voices of Ghanaian women are heard and their needs are addressed. Other initiatives to support women corporate leadership development include the annual Women's Career Development Workshop, helping women professionals evolve their career and leadership action plan. To address parity in STEM education, EVE will this year build its first robotic and STEM lab for girls in the Ashanti region to help boost and improve the confidence of girls in the teaching and learning of science and maths. The second pillar of EVE focuses on mental health and well-being. EVE places a strong emphasis on mental health as a crucial aspect of a woman's overall well-being, recognizing the unique challenges that Ghanaian women face, both locally and internationally. EVE International Foundation is currently constructing the Lady Julia EVE Wellness Center, which will offer comprehensive mental health services, including therapy, rehabilitation, support groups, halfway homes, and wellness programs tailored specially to the needs of women. The facility represents a significant step forward in providing accessibility and mental health care and underscores the Foundation's dedication to enhancing the quality of life for women. EVE International Foundation is actively engaging in promoting climate action and environmental sustainability. With a particular focus on the 5 R's, the Foundation advocates for sustainable practice and environmental stewardship within communities through projects such as EVE Waste Segregation Program for primary and junior secondary schools. The Foundation places a strong emphasis on waste management as a key component of environmental sustainability. Through cleanup campaigns and waste management training, EVE International Foundation encourages proper waste segregation and recycling practice in school communities with high waste. The efforts aim to reduce pollution, promote recycling, and create healthier living environments. The 4th pillar of EVE is focused on network and collaboration. EVE is dedicated to empowering Ghanaian women through comprehensive mentoring and networking programs. In addition to these, EVE International Foundation places a strong emphasis on networking opportunities. The Foundation organizes network events, conferences, and forums that brings together women from diverse backgrounds to share knowledge, experience, and opportunities. EVE International Foundation aims to build a supportive community of women to join forces and empower each other to reach their full potential and make significant contribution to their societies. EVE International, igniting a positive trajectory for womanhood worldwide.
Wow. Are you not proud? Are we not proud? Wow. Such a tremendous archive of works that EVE Foundation, International Foundation, has been up to all this while. And I'm indeed proud to associate myself with EVE International Foundation. I'm a proud EVE member, are you? Great. Now, I'd like to acknowledge the presence of Dr. Stella Ajini Boateng, the Vice Chairman, Public Services Commission. A round of applause. Let's also give it up for Madame Efua Gate, who happens to be the first female president-elect. One more time. This is another great moment for us to introduce the Honorable Lady Chief Justice of Ghana. She will be up here on stage to give us our 4th speech. But before I introduce her, let's give it up for her because her archive, her profile is an outstanding one. The Honorable Justice Gertrude Araba Esaba Sake Tokonu assumed the position of Chief Justice of Ghana on June 12, 2023, after nomination by the President and vetted by Parliament. With a judicial career spanning back to 2004, Justice Tokonu was among the pioneering justices of the Commercial Division of High Court. She has actively contributed to the reform agenda and initiatives of the judiciary and judiciary service of Ghana since 2005. She has served as a faculty and board member of the Judicial Training Institute, Vice Chair of the Intention and Collection Committee, Chair of the E-Justice Oversight Committee, Chair of the Editorial Committee of the Association of Magistrates and Judges, Supervising Judge for Commercial Courts in the country, and Law Reform Commissioner. She was elevated to the Court of Appeal in 2012 and to the Supreme Court in December 2019, after going through parliamentary hearing before assuming office as Chief Justice in June 2023. Prior to joining the judiciary, Justice Sake Tokonu specialized in her own glory in commercial and construction law and worked as a barrister from 1987, wow, to 2004. She is married with 4 beautiful daughters and 3 grandchildren. Let's give it up for her and welcome her on stage, the Honorable Justice Getru Araba Esalba Saki.
My very good friend, Mrs. Sheila Menkapremo, Chair of E Foundation, who I'm informed is also representing Her Royal Highness, Lady Julia Saitutun, Honorable Ministers, Excellencies, Nana Himanom, distinguished guests, and let me specially recognize Mrs. Gende. I've been looking for where she's sitting. The first woman president of the Ghana. Well done, Ifo. Good morning. Thank you very much for inviting me to share thoughts with you in this August forum that has been beautifully curated to champion the interest of women and to empower women to become their best and give of their best to the nation, the world, and the earth. I really commend the visionaries and developers of this extraordinary project. I cannot think of a more effective context for achieving the best of womanhood agenda than the model of the E Foundation, which brings together womanhood at every level, and through that empowers the most vulnerable simply by their watching, drinking deep of the wisdom, the style, the perceptions, attitudes, and postures of the more experienced, mature women executive of the nation. Emma Minom, as the foremost woman executive of this nation, I'm speaking about myself, pursuant to Article 57(2) of the 1992 Constitution, I thank you beyond the expression of words. Ghana is really grateful for the work of the E Foundation. You have asked me to share insights and experiences on how the justice system is pivotal in advocating for women's rights and addressing gender-based issues, and how the justice system can be instrumental for transforming women into leaders with global impact. I wish to consider the task you have given me in this conversation in a conversation titled A Just Society for Women. I will first set the context for Ghana's justice system so that we can appreciate what a just society should look like. First, law forms the pillars upon which justice is built. It is not desire, it is not attitude or concepts of morality that define justice, but law. Justice is always according to law. And any conduct that contravenes law, no matter how justified it seems in the eyes of the person doing it, is not just. Second, law is extremely territorial. And so what is legal and just in one country or one community may not at all be legal and just in another. So if you drive on the left in South Africa, you have not broken the law. But if you drive on the left in Ghana, you have broken the law. It depends on what the law in that community says. Thus, in forming a more just society, we must first work with a keen awareness of what the law in that society is, and then diligently examine how any relevant law affects the interests and welfare of the unique realities of womanhood. If the effect of any law is inimical to the proper development of womanhood, then our first focus must lie in changing the law so that women are empowered and held within the better legal context. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen present, and I'll stop and acknowledge the presence of Mr. Baden. Last week I spent an exhilarating time going through margins. It's always a pleasure to see your facilities. God bless you for what you are doing for Ghana. The justice system in Ghana is structured within Article 11 of our 1992 Constitution. And it is structured in a 5-tier ladder form. The justice system of Ghana is in a 5-tier ladder form. The 1992 Constitution stands as the highest law of Ghana. Next in power is the enactment, statutes, and legislation passed by Parliament. Third in priority are the orders, rules, and regulations made by any person under the authority of the Constitution and law. At the fourth level is the law as it existed before the coming into force of the 1992 Constitution. And this will include all earlier legislation that existed before the promulgation of the Constitution. At the beginning level, what I call the genesis of law and legality is the common law of Ghana, which includes the customary law of all our ethnic groups and communities, and the doctrines of equity, which are shaped by morality and good conscience. In summary, therefore, what is just in Ghana will begin with our customary rule of law that contradicts that traditional practice. And the laws passed by Parliament can themselves be struck down if they contradict the Constitution. So decades back, certain widowhood rights, practices such as female circumcision, and the keeping of women within shrines became the subject of scrutiny, and these were removed from our body of lawful activities, either through the passage of law making them criminal offenses, or court orders that were what we in the legal industry call jurisprudence. Domestic violence, marital rape, and other forms of spousal abuse that were previously being justified under the projection of traditional practices have been actively swept away and strengthened by applying the higher legal ethics of new legislation. Is the Domestic Violence Act 2007 Act 732. In this law, we find that prohibitions in certain acts in domestic relations, such as violence against the person, customary servitude, and trial by ordeal, have been criminalized. Under the Constitution, provisions for building a just society are amply woven together, and spousal property rights are provided for under provisions such as Article 22. From this journey, we can see that the justice system of Ghana is not administered only by the courts, but also Parliament, all our executive agencies, and our traditional authorities. We all form part of the justice system that must work in concert and harmony to shape guide and enforce a more just society. Whether it is family justice, social justice, economic justice, environmental justice, or gender justice. To the extent that we know the law, we must act within the law and abide by law all the time. So generally, society operates all of context of law seamlessly. The courts or the formal justice system become relevant only when parties disagree on the way forward within their relationship or their transaction and submit a dispute to court. So when you drive on the right side of the road, you are just obeying law. We are all forming part of the justice system by the way we act, because we know we internalize and we work in accordance with law. So this is what is articulated by Article 1251 of the 1992 Constitution, when it states that, quote, justice emanates from the people and shall be administered in the name of the Republic by the judiciary, which shall be independent and subject only to this Constitution. The people of Ghana decide what is just, and it is administered by the courts and by tribunals around us. Whenever there's a dispute, the courts are empowered by the Constitution, the Courts Act of 1993, and the extremely structured rules of court and every other relevant law to act as an independent arbiter and to administer justice by pronouncing on what the law says or how the law should be interpreted and applied. And I'm smiling because I'm sure a few days ago you all witnessed some serious activists telling me to hurry up and give judgment. And I'm smiling because no one can give judgment outside of law. And I had told them, you haven't filed your papers. When you file your papers, we can hear you. They said, give us judgment. Justice is always according to law. When we review our country's journey in justice and the rule of law, we can see that Ghana is active in demanding for justice and the shaping of a more just society, though the journey sometimes is slow and not as effective as it should be. Our country has a responsive justice structure found in 5 levels of court with different jurisdictions to cater for every type of dispute, from the district courts, the circuit courts, the high courts, the Court of Appeal, and the Supreme Court. Around the court systems are other judicial tribunals to assist in resolving disputes early and outside of the strict regimen of the court. These include the Judicial Committees of Traditional Council, which settle disputes relating to chieftaincy, the Centers of Arbitration, including customary arbitration. Some of them are run by Nana Hima, and tribunals for technical sectors such as the tax tribunal and tribunals for the telecom industry. All decisions from these tribunals are under the supervisory jurisdiction of the High Court, and appeals from them go to identified courts. We can therefore be assured that there is a forum to assist with the resolution of every dispute and to give justice if there is disagreement. Now, I will share a few thoughts on how we can move more speedily and effectively towards a more just society for women, and through this, transform Ghanaian womanhood for greater impact, and then conclude. I think that informal partners for social justice, such as the E-Foundation, which work effectively in empowering women, are a mighty force for building a more just society. The power lies within a small word with great power: mentoring. Mentoring is the process through which a more vulnerable person learns effective principles through listening, being guided, and sometimes simply watching the more mature and stronger person. I have seen a very interesting phenomenon in the judiciary. Until 2007, more than 150 years since Ghana started developing a formal justice system, all the chief justices of Ghana had been men. Then we had our very own Honorable Lady Chief Justice, Justice Georgina Theodora Wood, in 2007. She led the judiciary for 10 years. Immediately after her came Chief Justice Akufu, shattering what was left of the glass ceiling over womanhood when it came to this arm of government. But what was also noticeable was that the glass walls around the title, My Lord, His Honor, and His Worship, were also coming down and falling as these women led the judiciary in the justice sector of Ghana. As women saw women lead the arm of government, and I have to remind them that I may have to send you to the court in Nalarugu and the court in Azim. And I remember there was a group where there were 12 women and 1 man. And the last group of judges I saw in, one was extremely pregnant, one came with a baby, and just yesterday, the extremely pregnant woman sent me a message, sent me a letter, official letter asking for maternity leave when she just started work. My view is that this fast occurring change is being shaped by mentorhood, mentorship, and example. The art of learning how to manage authority and administer leadership by watching and seeing another woman do it. As women see that others ahead of them have been able to navigate the challenges of womanhood, found in a unique physiology and emotional makeup, and the barriers that traditional structures had arranged around womanhood, they catch the knowledge that yes, we can also reach higher, stronger, and better. Through this environment, infused with stronger knowledge of the needs of women, the formal justice sector is better placed to bring understanding and appreciation of what women need to develop into stronger forms of themselves. It becomes the intellectual duty of the judiciary to find and articulate the appropriate legal principles, precepts, and doctrines to support this evolution of strength for women. And I can assure you we are up to the task. So my sisters and distinguished guests, the journey may be slow, but the history of our national journey shows that it has never stood still. It is evolving in the right direction, and we must force it into a faster pace with confidence and knowledge. Let me close by sharing my heart about 2 elements of our national life and justice administration that is costing this nation extremely highly, and which, if not properly examined and dealt with, will affect with inestimable harm the development of womanhood and the women's ability to access prosperity. The first is land management. Rights over land in Ghana are invariably premised on customary law. It is obligations over land management that are regulated by statute. But as we know, our customary law is extremely diverse, and as diverse as our ethnic groupings. Whereas in some locations in Ghana, land is held by families and clans. In some communities, title to land is held by stools and skins. This changing landscape of who owns rights to land as we travel around the country has become the context for much abuse and confusion. As land gains more and more premium for economic activity, contests for family headship and chieftaincy confuse the issue of who is the right person to grant interest in land. This is leading to unsustainable levels of litigation over land, social injustice, economic injustice, and impoverishment of the vulnerable, including the well-meaning investor, the young person who wants to build wealth, women and citizens who must obtain homes and other facilities for quality of life without going through the trauma of just buying the land for it. The second area of concern is what is popularly called galamsey and sand winning. These abuses of the natural environment is being done in a disorderly fashion and with impunity against the proper operation of law and order. We are all groaning. We are all afraid. We are all pointing fingers, and we all need answers. How can a forum like Eve International Foundation steer our country, help to steer our country in the right direction? This is a country that has steered itself out of slavery, colonialism, military oppression, kalabule, and many forms of practices detrimental to the proper development of women, children, the youth, and the society at large. I'm sure many of the people below 40 don't understand the word kalabule. But that tells you that we have gone through many waves of serious injustices. Present in this room are many influential women. Women like Esther, who live in palaces and control the conversations in homes where the nation's executives retire to. There are women here with titles who function in executive positions like myself. There are women here who control the directions of nations because of their place in diplomacy and international relations. And there are women here who control businesses and women here who control national agencies like Dr. Daphne. I beg you all to join me in demanding from our nation that we stop the indiscriminate impunity in the disposition of land through unlawful and illegal activities, confusions in land management, and turn our faces towards consideration of what is good for the vulnerable in our society, what is just for the orderly development of communities, and what can bring peace and prosperity. This is the environment in which women thrive best, and we cannot train women without assuring them of economic prosperity, a sustainable environment in which they will be healthy, and most importantly, a nation in which there's respect for the rule of law. I know that if we close our ranks and support each other as we are doing now, and mentor the generations around us, teaching them to respect law and legality, together we can build a society that is a just society for women. Thank you very much, and God bless.
Thank you very much, Her Excellency. That was indeed a great speech. How many of you are overwhelmed? I feel like I just entered the court, the court and just came out. I hope we're taking notes, because that was indeed a great one. The speech was on the justice system in advocating for women's rights and addressing gender-based issues in Ghana, and I think she's done a great justice to that role. A round of applause for her one more time. Let me acknowledge the presence of some students in our midst. Laboni Senior High School, give it up for yourselves. St. Mary Senior High School, as well as Christ the King Senior International School. I hope you're taking notes, because this is like a lecture hall with all these great indigenous speakers in our midst. All right. We would also like to give some acknowledgement to the media houses present: Despite Media, UTV Ghana, My Joy Online, is it ACCRA or ACEPA? ACEPA, in Konkonsa, ACCRA. Is it ACCRA? Okay. In Konkonsa.com, GTV, and GBC. Thank you so much for making it present today. You know, when we talk about women, women can be versatile. Women can do it all. We have the strength and the qualities and the capabilities to do it all. And we have in our midst a very talented young woman who has been doing very well in the field of entertainment. She dances incredibly well and it has become her profession. And so without much ado, let's give it up for Floriness as they come on stage to give us a performance. Floriness on show. Let's give it up for them one more time. You'll be blown away, I bet you. Enjoy. Sawadiko, the founder, Fire on the Run, and an Eve mentor. We're going to have the role as a mentor.
We are now being seen. For so many years, we were hidden, and the European woman was taking presidency over everything that we once were doing. So remember that. And mentorship also fosters growth by offering advice, networking opportunities, and encouragement, which can accelerate a person's career and personal growth. It also promotes accountability and confidence while building a meaningful relationship based on trust and mutual learning. As a mentor to your mentee, don't see yourself to be so much greater than the one that you are teaching, because remember that they are watching everything that it is that you do. So if you say to others what people often didn't give on to me. I remember being 16, giving birth for the 3rd time, and they told me, you'll never make it. You'll never finish school. You will never amount to be anything. Your children will not either. Well, I'm here to say that my children have graduated SHS. Some of them have gone on to the universities. They collectively take care of their families. They live independently on their own, and they are very impressed with their mother finding her way back to Ghana and making an impact in the world that she never knew even existed. And so I'm very honored again to be here. And for mentors, thank you. Thank you. And for mentors, the role often provides fulfillment. We are fulfilled in fulfilling those roles in someone's life. Doesn't it feel good when you are able to encourage someone else? When you are able to uplift someone else? We can't continue as women to have that behavior of jealousy and envious. It's okay if someone's butt is bigger than yours. It's okay. It's okay if someone can speak in a way that maybe you cannot. It's okay. And I think as women, we hold so much on us that we always think that we have to be perfect, but we can be imperfect and still be powered to empower other people. We don't always have to have the right words to say. We just need to be able to say it. We may not always have the right dress to wear, but you gotta still be able to wear it. You may not always be able to get that wig cap on the way you wanted to, or that lipstick on the way you need, but do not let that discourage you or stop you from who you are to be and how you can empower other people. These are words of my own that I want to leave with you as I get ready to go here. True power lies in uplifting those around you. Be empowered to empower others, for it is in lifting others that we truly rise. Thank you. I am Tanika Sawadona. Thank you.
Wow. Madame Tanika Sawadona. Give it up for her one more time. That was a very inspiring one. And Tanika, you just inspired me with that story. Now, often at times, you know, from our backgrounds, we come from different backgrounds, different homes. We've seen a lot. We've been told different things. But here we are sailing through and doing amazing in society. So that speech was very inspiring. I hope some of our youngies here have taken notes and will do justice to that. Now let's move on to the next session, the power of mentorship. The power of mentorship by calling upon Josephine Adachi to give us that bit. A round of applause for her.
Thank you so much, Madam Victoria Lebene, some of the great personalities that we look up to. Good afternoon. I would humbly stand on all the system protocols that have been insisted here. So, I am greatly honored and humbled to have been given such a great opportunity to share my experience and the journey so far, being a mentee with the More Women Leading Mentorship Program by E Foundation. I think we should give the visionaries and the masterminds a round of applause. I do resonate with the words of Michelle Obama in her book, Becoming, and I quote, "For me, becoming isn't arriving somewhere or achieving a certain aim. I see it instead as a forward motion, a means of evolving, a way which continuously towards a better self. The journey doesn't end," unquote. I do resonate with this because about a year ago, I took a bold decision to become the first SLC president at Pentecost University. And even though the result wasn't what I expected, it kind of broke me down a bit. I was in a bit of self-doubt. So after hearing about the mentorship program, I got the opportunity to be a part of it, and I must say that I have been able to improve. I now believe in myself. I can speak confidently, and I know I can do anything that I put my mind to. That is the power of mentorship. Mentorship, thank you so much. Mentorship, according to Merriam-Webster Dictionary, is the influence, guidance, or direction given by a mentor to a mentee. Upon realizing that the noble Kate Addo was going to be my mentor, this sent chills down my spine. She's a renowned journalist, broadcaster, and public relations practitioner, and she's currently the coordinating director in charge of parliamentary broadcasting, media relations, and public engagement at the Parliament House of Ghana. This was more than I could ask for because I have found myself offering BA Communication Studies at Pentecost University, majoring in the field of public relations. So this was very awesome for me. My first encounter with her was centered about excelling in the PR space. She actually advised me to join the Institute of Public Relations to be able to improve upon myself, professional and career advancement. She also taught me some few personal etiquette and grooming tips, and as you can see, I'm looking as lovely as I'm here today. Okay? Thank you. The More Women's Leading Mentorship Program is a well-structured initiative by technical experts which has helped all 51 mentees of the program to increase our understanding about ourselves and situations. Again, it has given us the opportunity to access personal support, discussion, and suggestions in relation to various projects and initiatives. I remember in May when I spoke to my mentor about organizing a conference regarding women empowerment and my initiative I wanted to bring up. She told me, oh, you can do it. Go ahead. If you need any advice, just reach out to me. And on August 9, I organized a conference. She came around with other dignitaries to come support my initiative. This couldn't have been done without this mentorship program. Thank you. Again, with the mentorship program, you can have access to a senior role model that we can learn from, increase our self-confidence, and encourage in self-reflection and development skills and so on. The program allows online meetings as an alternative because most of us are busy. I have started my national service and it's a bit difficult trying to meet up with my mentor. But this program, the More Women's Leading program, has given that opportunity to have online meetings and also to be able to gather and go around all these things. To end it all, I would like to say a very big thank you to the mastermind and brains behind the More Women's Leading program, especially our mentorship coordinator, Miss Justina and Madam Etona. On behalf of all 51 mentees of the More Women's Leading program, take it again. On behalf of the 51 More Women's Leading mentees, we say Ayiko, we truly love you, and we say God bless you. And a very big thank you to our mentors as well for accepting to nurture, guide, coach, and support us. We say Maune Yao, Yadase, Nagode. And to the entire E Foundation fraternity, we are glad to be a part of this great family. We say God bless you all. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Ms. Josephine Adachi. It's not easy to speak in public, and we are glad that you've been able to make waves with your mentorship program. Let's give it up for her once. We're still enjoying the E-Women's Conference 2024, and next on our list is to have the EVE app launched. And so I'll do so by calling on Zulaya Dobia Abdallah, the EVE Envoy for Women in STEM, as well as Abigail Aso Asante, and EVE Youth Envoy. A round of applause. We'll kindly plead on the IT team to help us with the screen. Hello, good afternoon to you all.
Eve. Eve. Okay. I think that the voices are not too many, and it's obvious that a lot of us do not know the response. So whenever you hear Eve, you say every Ghanaian woman everywhere. Please, I hope you got it. Every Ghanaian woman everywhere. So we go again. Eve.
Every Ghanaian woman everywhere.
Eve.
Every Ghanaian woman everywhere.
Great. Let's give it up for ourselves. Okay, so we are here to launch the Eve app, and myself, I'm going to take you through the surface of the app and some components that are linked to the objectives and aims of Eve International. And my madam here will take us through the technicalities involved. Please clap for us. All right, so when you open the Eve app, you are going to see this. Together we make an impact. Eve International, as a women-dominated organization that seeks to champion the interests of women, nurture the potential of women, most definitely with the numerous capacity-building programs that we put together, we seek to make impact in the lives of young women who aspire to be great women in life. And then share and find inspiring content. So on this app, you would have the chance to share content, very inspiring ones, and you also have access to other contents that are very inspiring from other members who are on the app. I mean, at every point in time in everybody's life, you need an inspiration to elevate your spirit, to do more than you are doing. And this app is going to give us the opportunity to share anything inspiring on the app. Forge meaningful connections. Most definitely, as we are here, it will be a long time again for us to meet again, but on the app, it will be like we meet every day. Yes, for you to connect with a large number of women on the app, your mentors, some of our mamas, the pearls, the roses, everybody that you look up to, even your peers, so that you can share expertise and also grow from each other's experiences. Oh, you didn't clap. Stay updated on events. Most times, some of us really do complain that there are some of the events and activities that Eve put together, you don't even hear about it, and it's only pictures you see and blah blah. Yes. But on this app, you're going to be updated on every activity, programs, anything at all that Eve is putting together, so that you can also get the opportunity to show up. Yes, so that is what it is with the events. So here, you're going to see create an Eve account. You can log in with your already existing account. Myself, I created an Eve account separately and I used it to log in. You can do it that way, or you log in with an already existing account. Yes, so here you choose any accounts that you have, your Gmail. You may have 2 or 3 Gmails, so any of them that is convenient with you for you to log into the app, then you choose. And then here, it is so usual to ask whenever you are logging into any account, you enter your mobile number, your gender, your date of birth, and then you upload your picture. And here, there are so many social media handles here, and so you are required to share a link of your social media profile here so that any other person that wants to follow you can directly access you. And here to your education, your institution, okay, your work experience, the title of the work you do, the company name, the date you started and where it ended. All of this
components, form part of the profile. So when you log into the account, it is going to lead you step by step for you to be able to provide the necessary information. Thank you very much, my Madam Chancellor.
Hello everyone. So as much as possible, Eve wants you to be tech savvy. This is how your homepage is going to look like. Just like other social media platforms, you have your homepage. Down here, you have the Discover, you have events, you have messages, you have profile. So on your homepage, this is your feed, your timeline. These are the contents that are coming on your timeline based on the people you follow, based on the updates you want, based on the groups you are part of. You also have the opportunity to browse groups just on your timeline, right? Please, can we go to the next? Discover. So in E, we have different groups. We have the health, fashion, STEM, business, and the other nitty-gritty. So just, let's say you want to explore what other groups are doing if they have certain events, because you can be in the STEM group and still want to do fitness and wellness, and you're welcome. So you just come to the Discover, you see the different groups you can explore, try and find out what you want to do. You can request to be a member from here, or you can just see what they are up to. So up here, you can see group, you see members, you see mentors. So can we go to the members? Okay, so here, you can follow. You can see, yeah, so members, yeah. You can choose to follow everyone, and immediately you follow, their feed, things they update will come on the home page, and you don't have to go to their page again. So this gives you the opportunity to just follow whoever you want to follow in Eve. Yeah, we can go to mentors. So one of the most essential things about being in a community like this is because we are supposed to be learning from other people. And it's just not following them on the app, but you can book to actually have a one-on-one conversation with them so that it can help you in your journey, being whoever you want to be. So when you click on book a mentor, you have the opportunity to send a message, choose a time slot, and then book now. So the mentor on her page would accept or maybe reschedule based on her availability. So events. So different groups, different events. We want, STEM wants to have a Women in Tech Forum. As the envoy, I can create an event there, and then it will be approved by management before it populates here. So I can name it maybe FemTech 2024. I can upload the cover image. I can choose the event dates, the event link to be registered, and the other details. And then I can add it to a calendar. Then management will approve, and then it will be populated on the Eve app. I can also share it outside, maybe on WhatsApp, on Facebook, on Messenger, Instagram, other social media platforms, if there need be. Yeah, so you also have the opportunity to go to the past events that have already happened. Yeah, past events, upcoming events, the events you've registered for, and the events you have created. This is just a spice. You know, the app, we are Eve, so everything on the app is like creme de la creme. So we can go to messages. So just in case you don't want to leave the app, because we want you to stay here as much as possible, so we are touching on every part of it. You can hold conversations like you do on WhatsApp, on Facebook. You can hold conversations with the members of Eve right here. So I decided to text my beautiful sister here. I can say hello. How is it going? How is the event going? Wow. Yeah, so you have the opportunity to record. You have the opportunity to attach. Maybe there's an event you saw, you took a screenshot and you shared. Oh, hi, can you tell me more about this event in your group? I want to join. Something like that. You can also do that here. Yeah, so now you have the opportunity. You can also see your unread message. It's basically a complex and messaging app. Now you can go to the profile. This is you. This is you when you were active. You have the opportunity to post things on your profile, your experiences, your work experiences, your education, then your timeline, what is on your feed, the connections you have. So how many people are you connected to and everything. So you can write something, just like on Facebook, you say what's on your mind. So if here to what's on your mind, we have the connections. So based on the connections you have found, the groups you belong to, yeah. And then media, just like we post our pictures and our videos, the Eve app also gives you the opportunity to do that. You can see the number of followers you have and the number of posts that you have made. Yeah, so settings. So just like every other app, you have the opportunity to change certain settings. So when you go to the account, it gives you the opportunity to change your password or to delete the account, but we don't want you to delete your account. But yeah, so subscription. You know, in Eve, we have members, different types of members. So we have the premium membership, the gold membership, and the diaspora membership. So you have the opportunity to choose any of the membership you want, and then you can subscribe to them. So the privacy, we understand your privacy, and we know that everybody putting their data here is very confidential as much as possible. So if you want to see our privacy policy, you can just have an opportunity to go through it and then see how we are making sure that we are keeping your data safe. Yeah, so notifications. If you're like me, I don't like to be distracted when I'm working. So I like to turn off my notifications. So the app gives you the opportunity to turn off certain notifications you don't want. And if you prefer the notification to come via email or via phone, you have the opportunity to actually choose. Yeah, in case you have any concerns, you can just get to the help center and then you can have all the information here. As much as possible, the questions that we have will be populated here and their solutions. So you can also learn about Eve, our mission, our vision, our core values, our approach. I mean, if you're an Eve member, you have to know this stuff here. But yeah, so this is how the app looks like. Immediately you click on the logout, it will take you back to the main page. But this is basically what the Eve app is bringing to you, and as much as possible, as we use them, we're going to be adding more because software always grows. The app will be available by the end of the month for all of us to download, and the team will be available to help you download them and then start using them. So thank you very much for listening to us. Don't go. Hey! This is an innovative app. Is this not Instagram? Yes. No, Charlie. No, it's like this app was made for me. Because most of my works are on Instagram. Most of all the things that I'm involved in, my endeavors, my moves. Oh my goodness. Let's give it up. This one, yeah, it feels like we're in abroad. This is top notch. This is it. What's it? That's right. This is a very professional way to appeal to our audience, as well as the benefits that we can get as Eve members. I'm really, really impressed. It's very profound. Congratulations. Well done. Okay, let's keep the ball rolling. One more time, we want to give it up for our Queen Mothers. We have HRH, Nana Apia, Sapoma, Kuman. The Achim Drenasehima. Achim Drenasehima. Let's give it up for her. We also have in our midst Ohima Odiasipa. Abena. These three names, they are very, very strong. Odiasepa. Correct. That's right. Let's give it up for her. She happens to be the opening, the first Asumka Hima of Edum Krom Efiapem, the Royals of Valor International founder, if I'm right. Right. We also have
We also have Inkil Gurechi, right? Gurechi. I had to come for lecture after the event. Borisa Idisa Judea the First, Yagon, Gonja Kingdom, Savannah region. And last but not the least, Na Jama Oletrima, Na Tijama Oletrima, the first, the Engleshi Alata Trom Anyansi Jamestown. Let's give that for We're also still not forgetting our partners, QIC, Quality Insurance Company, as well as Margins Group. Thank you so much once again. Now, we have a very interesting session. That's the question and answer session. We have a panel discussion to hold right here at the Eve Women's Conference. But before we cheer into that arena, let's call upon the Tema Choral Ghana to give us very soothing music to carry us along while we enjoy the event today. So we'll also cheer up for the panel discussion. So anyone involved in the panel discussion, kindly get your notes, your parts, and your speeches ready. Thank you so much. A round of applause for them as they come on stage. Thank you very much, Tema Choral Ghana. The voice is very soothing. I'm always taken aback by your voice. I hope you don't carry me home. All right, to the next on the bill, the panel discussion. We also have a question and answer session for anyone who has any question or whatsoever. You need clarity, insights on anything concerning gender equity. Don't hesitate to get involved. The panel discussion will be spearheaded by Madame Portia Gabo, an award-winning journalist with TV3. Let's give her a round of applause as she comes on stage to moderate this session for us. But before she joins us here, let me give her this accolade, Let me give her this accolade, she deserves it. Portia Solomon Gabo is a Ghanaian journalist, news anchor, and a voice actor who currently works with TV3, and she was adjudged the Journalist of the Year at the 26th Ghana Journalist Awards, organized by the Ghana Media Association. Welcome, madam. Thank you so much for joining us. The floor is all yours.
Thank you so much, Victoria. A very good afternoon to you, and I'm honored to moderate the second part of today's program. In June 25 this year, I met a lady, and she gave me a heartbreaking message. Despite graduating from the School of Communications, she was not employed just because she was a person with disability. She asked me one question: is society ready to accept me? Then, just last month, during the WESLEY, there was a lady with cerebral palsy writing the exam. After the paper, her father came to me to say, my daughter wants to become a lawyer. Is there a place in society for her? Well, today, the answer to these questions are yes, just because of the passage of the Affirmative Action Bill into law. And this was made possible by some powerful women who decided to brave all odds to ensure the passage of this bill. So let's clap for all the women who spearheaded the passage of the Affirmative Action Bill into law. Because of you, we know that we cannot only beg for bread, we don't have to beg for bread, but we can actually own the bakery. And to help me in today's discussion are three powerful women. Dr. Rose Mensah-Kutin, she is the Executive Director of Accra-based West African Regional Office of Abantu for Development, a women's rights organization promoting women's rights and gender justice and policies in Ghana, Africa, and beyond. Abantu hosts the Women's Manifesto Coalition and the Gender Action on Climate Change for Equality and Sustainability, both in Ghana. She served as convener of the Network for Women's Rights in Ghana, NetRights, in 2005 to 2009, and also provided leadership for the development of the Women's Manifesto for Ghana in 2004, 11 political but non-partisan documents that outlines key issues of concern to women and makes demands for addressing them. Help me welcome Dr. Rose Mensah-Kutin. Also joining me in today's discussion is Dr. Mamiadra Jachijando. She is a senior lecturer and immediate past head of the University of Ghana's Political Science Department, where she teaches undergraduate courses in development studies, comparative politics, gender and politics, and political and economic reform and democracy in Africa. At the graduate level, she teaches democracy and governance in Africa, government and politics in Ghana, and advanced comparative politics. Her expertise lies in comparative politics with specialization in African and Ghanaian politics, the role of civil society in a democracy, civil society-state relations, democratization, gender and politics, migration, citizenship and belonging, and politics of the developing world. Let's welcome Dr. Jachijando. And last but not least is Becky Enona Mahaji-Esquire. She is a lawyer by profession with a passion for advocating for gender and child rights. She's currently the coordinator of the Affirmative Action Bill Coalition, which is the collective voice of like-minded member organizations and individuals actively engaged in advocacy towards the passage of the Affirmative Action Gender Equality Bill into law. She has extensive experience in developing legal memos and reviews for bills and policies such as the Affirmative Action Gender Equality Bill, the Non-Profit Organizations Bill, and the National Gender Policy and Domestic Violence Act and Policies, among others. Let us welcome lawyer Becky Enyonam Ahaju. So we will kickstart this discussion after lawyer Enyonam comes to join us. And ladies, congratulations, you all played a pivotal role in ensuring that the Affirmative Action Bill is passed into law. Let me first begin with you, Dr. Rosemary Sakutin. How will the passage of the Affirmative Action Bill into law help address historical gender disparity?
Thank you very much, and I want to thank the organizers of the program, especially Mrs. Sheila Captain, who has really championed this cause. I mean, I'm talking about the tail end of the struggle to get the bill passed into law.
We can appreciate it.
And I think that it is very important that she is the chair of the Eve Foundation, because it provides a space for the work that she has done towards the passage of the bill into law to translate into actual action when it comes to implementation. And so I feel that the Eve Foundation is really privileged to have somebody like that chairing the foundation. And I think one of the themes that has run through since morning has been the issue of mentorship and role modeling. And I'm urging all of us who are members of the Eve Foundation to look up to her to make a difference in this country that we call Ghana. Having said that, the Affirmative Action Law is really an affirmation of all that women have been doing and saying since the pre-colonial times. Now we are so young and we are so much interested in making life better for ourselves, but we should never forget that there were people who always challenged the status quo, who challenged the notion that it's only the ways of men that matter, and that we as women are only there to kind of warm the seats. And I think that from morning up until now, we have seen that there are so many women who may not be so visible, but who are doing great work in this country. So the Affirmative Action Law is actually telling us that so much work has been done already in Ghana by women, even though we are not so visible when it comes to policy making. Reference has been made to Parliament. The Chief Justice, the Honorable Chief Justice also alluded to what has happened within the judiciary and how in the past it was only male faces until we started having female faces as Chief Justices, when we as women doubled up in terms of having the confidence to move into spaces that were originally not so accessible to us. So the law actually provides for us a framework to justify once more the relevance of women in our country, the relevance of women in terms of playing crucial social, political, and economic roles in our society, and affirming that when we play those roles, we need to be recognized and we need to benefit from the resources that are with us in Ghana here. And so basically it is affirming for us that we are relevant that we need to be well represented in public policy spaces as well as private spaces in all spheres of life in Ghana.
Thank you so much. Dr. Janchigado, I was having a conversation with someone recently who said, of course, you people have passed the women's law, but we all know that it goes beyond it being a law for women. Can you explain this to us?
Okay, thank you very much, Portia. And thank you so much, Eve Foundation, for inviting me here today. And congratulations, I have to say hearty congratulations to the Affirmative Action Bill Coalition and my mentor and senior friend, Mrs. Sheila Menkampremo. I'm so grateful. And I'm really proud of all the work they have done. Mrs. Auntie Sheila, as I call her, and then Dr. Rose Mensah-Putin and others. So congratulations to us all, I should say. Yes, thank you so much. So the question about affirmative action, that it goes beyond
being a law for women. There is a misconception out there that we pass the women's law. Can you kindly explain this to us?
Okay, great. So, well, it is not just a law for women, but it's a law that helps to address the historical and social injustices and the discrimination, the caste discrimination and injustices that women have faced. So basically, it seems like a law for women because it seeks to bring women up to par, you know, to a level playing field. And they have faced discrimination, a systemic discrimination, in all spheres of life, politically, economically, socially, and even in the education and corporate world as well. So I think it is a law that seeks to bring us development. And we mentioned democracy. We cannot have democracy without the women being equally involved. If we say we have an inclusive democracy, a democracy has to be inclusive, participative, and then economically as well. We need the women to fulfill our development goals. And therefore, I would argue the affirmative action bill that was passed in law on the 30th of July this year and signed by the President on 18th September this year is a law for everybody.
It's a law for everybody. Thank you so much, Doc. Let me come to you, lawyer. And the law sets progressive targets towards achieving gender equity by 2030. So 30% 2024 to 2026, then moves to 35% 2027 to 2028, and 50% 2029 to 2030. What strategies are we adopting to ensure that these are actually implemented?
Thank you so much for the question. But before I answer, I'd also like to say a very big thank you to the organizers. And I'd also like to thank Mrs. Sheila Menkampremo. I know we are all mentioning her, but she is the convener of the Affirmative Action Bill Coalition, this establishment. And she has been spearheading the advocacy and the stakeholder conversations and everything for us to have today. And I'm really glad that one of the pillars of Eva's mentorship, and personally, I am one person that has very much benefited from her mentorship. I'm sitting here, when I became a lawyer, there was no plan to be in this space. I was so sure I was going to do corporate law, and I entered at Auntie Sheila's firm, and when I started working with her, Auntie Rose also came on board, and now I'm here. So, as already said by everyone, your mentorship is very key. And as young, I think I'm the youngest person here, so I'll say, from an intergenerational perspective, let's be willing and humble to learn from the women who have paved the way. Let's be willing to take it up, because as they go, there's wealth of experience and knowledge they have. And if we don't take it up to learn from them and think we know it all, we would fumble, and all the gains we've made will go down the drain. So, Sheila, thank you. Auntie Rose, thank you. So to answer your question about the targets in the bill, first I want to emphasize that it's an affirmative action gender equity act. So this act is talking about gender. I know in your introduction you talked about disability. For persons with disability, there's a Disability Act, and also there's a Disability Act being revised. Action Gender Equity Act. We're talking about the marginalization of a particular gender. So this act is targeted directly at empowering women or breaking that systemic marginalization that Doug already talked about. So with affirmative action, even though yes, it is for all, it's purposely for women who are identified as the marginalized gender, meaning that when you look at decision-making spaces in our country, our numbers are very low. If you look at Parliament, that example has been given, you have only 40 women, 235 men. Do we expect laws and policies to be passed which addresses our needs? No. If you look at Cabinet, you see that there are more men than women. If you look even with our ministerial appointment, and one example Angela likes to give, which I agree with it, we have an economic management team in this country. There is no woman on the economic management team. And so you look at the sector, and even in the private sector too, one of the statistics we came across says that even in the boardroom, only about 38% have one woman on the board. So what is reflected in the public sector, you see in the private sector. So what the Act is seeking to do is provide a legal framework where there's an intervention, like we stated, from 2024 to 2026. Now it is mandatory that in every sector, work towards having 30% women, and it's at all decision-making levels. We are not saying that keep the women at administrative level and excluded from the boardroom or where the higher decision is being taken. So at all decision-making spaces, you're supposed to work towards having 30%. And then from 2027 to 28, 35, and then from 2029 to 2030, in line with the Sustainable Development Goal, you have 50%. In terms of strategies, one of the key things you notice in the Act is that it's not mandatory, especially for the private sector, to have what we call a gender equity policy. And every company in the private sector is supposed to adhere with that. Now, I know some companies may already have policies, but now your policy has to be in line with the Act. So even if you're in the mining industry and currently you have a very low representation of women, have a policy in place which is training and mandating and ensuring that women are progressively increasing in those decision-making spaces in your industry. So now it is a law. The Chief Justice earlier said that law is the pillar on which you stand for to ensure justice. And injustice has been made against women in Ghana. We are more than 50% of the population, yet we are not represented. So this is a law, it's going to be a tool. Now it's not going to be a negotiation, it is mandatory. And there's going to be a gender equity compliance committee, gender equity committee. So this is the implementing body that will be situated at the Ministry of Gender. That's the second strategy. It's going to see to it that companies and also in the public sector are complying with the law. And so it's not just going to be a law that is in the air. There's a body that is going to sit down and ensure that it's going to work. Now, one of the key things you see the law asking the committee to do is to have a baseline report. So you can expect that every sector currently, what is the representation? And then they should have a plan of action on how they're going to achieve the targets in the law. So you have a body. The third thing you're also going to notice is that there are what we call gender equity compliance certificates that will be given to companies that are complying, and also to the public sector. So all these strategies are there, and beyond that, there are incentives for the private sector. I'm sure some people from the private sector are here, which is very important. And beyond the incentives, there are sanctions. If companies are not complying, there are sanctions. And for me, most importantly, I would say is that there is an offenses section in the Act, where if you are a designated employer, and you don't provide a safe environment, and there is stereotyping or there's verbal abuse and all these inconsistencies against women, you will actually be held liable. And if you attack a woman in public leadership, and if you verbally abuse or insult her or you stereotype her, you are also going to face the law. For me, that is the most important part of the Act. And I think we need to yes. And so, like we said, if you have knowledge of the fact that you are protected under the law, if you are facing any of these challenges, you can seek redress under the law.
Thank you so much, lawyer. And then let me come back to you, Dr. Rose. What will it mean for Ghana to have 30% representation in Parliament?
Well, we are all members of the United Nations. What the United Nations says is that any space where the the minimum representation of women is 30%. Now, in Ghana, our parliament, where the highest level of decision making is made, all the policies, even if you are going to drink water, if you are going to cook bamboo, if you are going to fry an egg, all those decisions are made in parliament through policy. We have food policies, the things that are imported into our country. Now we are also talking about galamsey and all of that. You've seen the water that has been shown on television. These are all as a result of bad policies. And so you are in parliament and there are only 10% of women who are in parliament. What does that mean? It means that many of the things that are very important to us, because if you are close to something, you are able to understand it better. And when you are arguing or you are making a case about it, you are able to provide an informed position about the issue. Again, as women, we are the ones who give birth. You remember the lady who talked about how she moved from having a child at the age of 12 and becoming what she always wanted to do. So she has that sensitivity. And when she was speaking, she said that, I'm not saying you should do the same, but I have learned from it and I've become a better person. And so when we are in those spaces and those issues come up, we would be able to make informed decisions that are relevant for the citizens of this country, irrespective of whether they are girl children or boy children. Are you with me? Yes. Wonderful. So, because of that, it is important that wherever decisions are made, the mining sector, the water sector, land issues, education, and what. So that 30% is actually the minimum threshold, the minimum representation. Indeed, in many countries, the minimum they set for themselves is 40%. But because of the ways in which we have had to struggle as organizations, as individuals, for this bill to be passed into law, we had to make concessions. Because right now, some countries are laughing at us that we waited all this long and all we got as a minimum is the 30%. And so we have to double up with implementation, as Becky has said. And because we have a targeted approach, and it is all because we don't want it to seem as if we want to take everything, even though we know that we need the 50%, 50-50 representation. We are using the targeted approach. And I must applaud Sheila once again. I don't know how she did it with the minister. Because some of us were living at home and all we heard was the bill has been passed into law. So we had to give some things away. But then we have strong organizations in Ghana. We have strong women's organizations in Ghana. We are able to work together. We support one another. And because of that, we are confident that we won't let the law sit on the shelves to gather dust, that we will double up and make sure that the bill and the law becomes a reality for us, and that progressively we'll move to a level where we are 50-50 represented in spaces where decisions are being made.
Thank you so much, Doc. Back to you, Dr. Jechijando. So when the disability bill was passed into law, we were all excited in this country. Then implementation became a problem. With the affirmative action law, what can we do to ensure that it doesn't just become mere talking?
Great, thank you so much, Portia. And that's a very, very important question. I mean, I've been thinking about it, reading through the key aspects of this law that has been passed. The key is implementation. How do we do that? I think that a legislative instrument has to be passed, and I think there's a provision for that where the Ministry of Gender is expected to write up something, argue for a legislative instrument. And I think the legislative instrument would be very helpful in actually detailing that there should be a specific quota, for the women in corporate bodies and public service and decision-making bodies, and even in parliament. It is very, very important. Without the law, and so I usually argue for a combination of a legislative, instrument or legislative instrument that will bring about a quota, and also a constitutional amendment. So, yes, we've had the AA law passed. We are very happy about it, but if we don't take care, it might end up being, staying on the shelf. We need to continue to work together as, women networks, along with our male allies, to push for reform of the 1992 Constitution, to be able to call for bold constitutional provisions that specify the 30%, or if you want 40%. In fact, the African Union has asked for 50% of women representation. That is the only way, because the 1992 Constitution is the highest law of the land. I would argue that going forward, we should not rest on our oars, but we should, move for the reform or revision of the 1992 Constitution for these specific reasons. The LI will also put into place legislative quotas that are mandating the specific percentage. When I read through the key provisions, I realized that because I'm a political scientist, I'm very concerned about how we can move the numbers from 40, the current 40 or 14.5% in Parliament, up to 30%, and then beyond that. It's really, really necessary. And if you don't mandate the political parties to do that, it will never happen. And so there's some problem there, and I think a constitutional quota would help, but that's in the future. But presently, the Ministry of Gender can work to get the LI, put in Parliament to pass that. And I must also add finance. It's very important that budgetary provisions are made. Gender responsive budgeting, budgetary specific gender, electoral gender financing, and gender financing for other things, so that the ministry can really get onto it. Otherwise, with this gender equity committee and all that it has to do, we'll be stuck.
Thank you so much. Now, very soon I'll be handing over the microphone to you to ask your questions, but lawyer, let's break this down practically. So if you were to be a university admissions officer, how will you implement the affirmative action law at the University of Ghana?
Okay, just to piggyback off what Doc talked about, like she said, we need a legislative instrument. So you have a law, but what the LI does is breaks it down and practically how every sector is supposed to implement it. And so, but before the LI comes, we still have the law. And so, with the universities, actually, they are already having affirmative action policies, most of them. Personally, I was a beneficiary because in Lagos, I remember my time, we were 60 in class and about 40 of us were ladies and 20 were men. That's because of the affirmative action policy in the university. And so that has already begun. But practically in the universities, yes, you can take up the law. If you look at the structure of your university, at this level, what's the percentage? This level, what's the percentage? You come up with a gender equity policy where you practically integrate the women, if it's going to be mentorship or workshops or training, and make sure that they are progressively being integrated into the spaces. As it is now, even without an LI, you can do that. And that also transcends to the public sector as well. So the Public Services Commission is also supposed to do that. And the hiring of people, vacancies that are available, if you have to put in more women to fill up the numbers, you're supposed to do that. And qualified women, I must add, it's not an act of tokenism where just women are not there. And another argument you keep hearing from people is, we just want the women to be there. It's not about wanting the women to be there. You would all agree with us that the women are actually intelligent and qualified. Gone are the days where women didn't have access to education. Now we have more than access. We are actually even the leads in education. You look at University of Ghana, from the chancellor right down to the vice chancellor, they are all women. And that's a testament to how intelligent and how skillful and how hardworking women are. And so if people come at you with the argument that, oh, where are the women? Tell them we are here. Where are the women? We are here. And so it's very important. And so beyond that too, practically another thing we can do, even though we are waiting for the LI and the committee, in your own space, if you can find time to read the Act, or even if you can find time to know about the Act, you can advocate for policies in your organization. You can stand on that and advocate for policies, and also talk about the offenses. If you see that there are practices or things in your organization that are stereotypical or that are hindering women, or there's no safe environment, you see instances of sexual harassment, you can stand on the Act and advocate for that in your own space. In as much as we want to wait for it to trickle from the top down, we can also start from the grassroots. Now you have a law to stand on. As said earlier, law is a pillar on which justice is emanating from. And so if you have the law, you stand on the law and see that as a company, if we continue to do this, we are actually going to face the law. I think it is 6 to 12 months, that's the directors. You face imprisonment or a fine. And so you let them know that this is what is in it for you. If you don't implement this law as an organization, you are going to face this. Also, with the political parties or with the public sector, we can hold our duty bearers accountable, okay? After the elections, there's going to be appointments. So we have to keep an eye out and ensure that all the appointments that the presidency or the government is going to make, let's ensure that there is representation. If they say where are the women, we provide them with a directory of women, that these are the women to choose from. I think practically we can start implementing the law. We don't need to necessarily wait for the committee or the allies. Once we know what is in the law, let's advocate, call our duty bearers accountable. You can start from your CEO, you can start from HR, and that way we'll see the law being implemented.
Thank you so much. It's now time for me to hand over the microphone to you. If you have a question, kindly raise up your hand. We'll pass over the microphone to you.
Madam Moderator, my question is a simple one. We keep talking about, we're looking at the legislature and saying that there's only 10% of women. But if the women are not putting themselves up, I know some of the parties are doing everything to get women to, by lowering, they do lower the fee for women. So if the women are not doing anything, and all we get is just a few of them going to Parliament, what are the punitive measures that can be applied to the legislature?
Can I answer? Okay, so with the political parties,
well, so thank you very much. I have a lot of thank yous. Thank you, Eve, for this very inspiring conference. Thank you very much, my big sister Sheila, and all the people who worked on the Women's Manifesto and the Affirmative Action Law now. My name is Bridget Griffin. The young Becky, I am so inspired by you because you don't only know your stuff, you speak, you talk. And when my aunt here, the one who just asked a question, what are women doing when women don't want to go there? Then let me please start to answer that a little bit. The terrain is rough. It is tough. I've been there, so I know. And when the Chief Justice talked about moral and all those laws that exist that we women tend to conform to, and yet the terrain does not conform to it. It is difficult, and we make our voices heard all the time because it is that agency that will buy us that place in leadership. We cannot be in leadership and be quiet. And the one place that keeps us quiet is the partisan division. And therefore, if we can get into that space and see ourselves collectively and in unity as women first, before representatives of political parties, that will help us. Because if then one woman speaks, regardless of where she's speaking from, she is supported by other women. But not because she's afraid the other side. Give me hope in the next.
Thank you so much, Madam Tugoli. So the first question about how do we get our women into parliament? So we